Welcome back. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Funke Aboyade, is my guest on the program today. The pioneer editor and creator of This Day Lawyer, former columnist of The Wig and Skirt, Funke is a much sought-after speaker who has presented papers locally and internationally on diverse topics that range from law to leadership. In this interview, we talk about the judgments on election petitions, the anti-graft war of the federal government, and other issues. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
We've had the Supreme Court come out to give some of its judgments in the election matters. I know that you were involved in handling some of those cases. What do you make of the judgments that we're seeing from the Supreme Court?
Well, indeed, I was involved in the River State election petition right from the tribunal stage through the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court under the leadership of Chief Akinolujimi, SAN, who led about 7 senior advocates, myself included. I must say the judgment of the Supreme Court was rather disappointing. It was an unexpected outcome. That said, the Supreme Court has ruled and we have to await their reasons. But we fought a long battle, a hard battle, and it will be interesting to see what why the court has decided the way it has and overturned the concurrent decisions of 2 lower courts. The decision of the Taraba State Election Petition Tribunal also interested me, even though I wasn't involved in it. Because when the APC candidate, Mrs. Al-Hassan, was declared winner, several people, including lawyers, criticized the tribunal as not having the powers to declare her winner. But they based that criticism on Section 140, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act, which was struck down several years ago by Justice Kolawole of the Federal High Court, Abuja. I know because I was involved in that case. I'm very proud to say I acted for the Attorney General of the Federation, and we argued in favor of striking down that section because it was incompatible with the Constitution. The section simply says that when the tribunal nullifies the election of whoever was declared winner on the grounds that he or she wasn't qualified to contest, the tribunal shall not then go on to declare the winner of the second highest votes the winner, but shall order a fresh election. And so many people didn't know that we had this section struck down. The other section we had struck down was Section 141 of the Electoral Act, which says that you must have gone through all the stages of the election before you can be declared winner. And you must have participated. And of course, we know that this section was targeted. It was an amendment to the Electoral Act and targeted against the then Governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi. We succeeded in getting that struck down as well. So Taraba State interested me.
How is it incompatible with the provisions of the Constitution?
Essentially, you're trying to oust the jurisdiction of the courts, and the courts will resist. That's the default position. They will resist. You're ousting their jurisdiction. The Constitution has conferred upon them jurisdiction to hear matters, and you're saying, even if they decide in such and such a way, they cannot do this. That's just a no-no. Our lawmakers should have known better. Better still, they should have read the Constitution before going ahead to insert those provisions, especially when they're targeted against individuals. So that's the long story short. As for the other judgments that have been delivered by the Supreme Court, in none of them do we have the reasons yet. We're still expecting the reasons of the court, so it will be interesting, even for the purpose of jurisprudence, to see how the court reasoned. In our case, in the River State Election Tribunal, the lead judgment was delivered by Justice Kekereekun, a justice whom I have very high regard for. So I'm looking forward to reading why she came about that unexpected outcome.
Let's talk about the war against graft. How would you assess the efforts of the current government so far?
Well, it's going on. Some people may say it's all over the place, but I would say it's better that than nothing at all. What I can say is that now we see what happens when the political leadership has the political will to prosecute corruption, bribery and corruption, And the EFCC, we have seen now, has suddenly sprung to life and is fearless and arresting people that hitherto were deemed untouchable. So in that respect, I would say we're not doing badly at all.
Many people are of the opinion that for the anti-graft war to succeed, the judiciary has a huge role to play. In fact, the president recently came out to say that the judiciary is his biggest headache. But how do you think the system can be reformed to enable the judiciary to perform better?
Well, we can spend the whole day discussing that question. Indeed, the president was said to have made that statement. I'm not sure, though, having said that, and you being in the media as well, you cast your headlines so you can sell. So I'm not sure he wasn't taken out of context. But that said, even though I'm a fervent supporter of President Buhari, even I acknowledge that he's not the great communicator in the mold of a Ronald Reagan or Barack Obama. So probably his statement was a bit inelegant and born out of frustration. But that said, what is the way forward? He's lamented that fact. And yes, we're all aware that some members of the judiciary, their conduct is less than stellar, which is unfortunate because I have many friends who are judges who I know are hardworking, who would never take a bribe, who would throw you out. You wouldn't even dare go to that. There are many ways you can the low-hanging fruits, the medium-term plans, the long-term plans. In fact, the Attorney General of the Federation, Malami Abubakar, made a recent statement at a function saying that corrupt judges will be jailed. I support him. I commend him. I think we should go a step further. We should jail senior counsel or anybody who's the conduit through which these gratifications are offered. Yes. Unless we make public examples of them. In Ghana, next door, they dismissed a whole lot of judges. Someone went undercover and a sting operation and they were caught. They were dismissed. We shouldn't allow such judges to retire to enjoy their loot, because this thing has a domino effect on society. The moment society feels they're not going to get justice through the court system or through judicial institutions, they're going to resort to self-help. And that's a recipe for anarchy. So I think that's a step, jailing the judges, jailing senior counsel or anybody who is involved. Sometimes we hear retired judges are involved and all that. So it has to stop.
The CJN recently came out to accuse lawyers of saying that judges are corrupt. And that if they make these allegations and say that judges are corrupt, then it means that they know the judges that are corrupt. But it seems that the bar is not, speaking out. Now you talk about naming and shaming, and the judiciary kind of has a way of, people say that they protect themselves. We don't hear of naming and shaming. No one is coming out to name names of people who are corrupt. So how then do we make progress?
You see, naming and shaming has to begin from somewhere. And we have to look at the big picture. If we don't name and shame, yes, we need to protect the integrity of the judiciary and of the bar and the bench. But at what cost? If we don't do this naming and shaming now, what has been going on for the past 10 years and escalating, in which we outsource our justice to foreign courts? Obvious examples, James Ibori, former governor of Delta State. We have a case in which former head of state, General Abubakar, was sued in Chicago, in the Chicago District Court by Hafsat Abiola. I was privileged to attend some of the sittings of the court. And then we have recently oil spill cases being litigated in England. We have recently Femi Falana petitioned the ICC over the former finance minister. So we're going to have these cases of people not having confidence in our judicial institutions or in our justice sector delivery system and then going abroad. So you have to balance it. Do we name and shame now and get over it and cleanse the system? Or do we, because we want to protect the integrity of the bar and the bench, we just sit on things and just muddle our way through forever? Something has to give. In Ghana, something gave. So something has to give. It's unfortunate, but if a judge were to be caught or senior counsel and they were jailed, I think it would send the right signal.
You think that the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association is doing enough?
I think all lawyers have a duty. You see, lawyers are also involved in this thing. Let's not deceive ourselves. So when we say lawyers have a duty to report, is it the same lawyers who are involved in this? So other people, you see, sooner or later, other people find out about it. It's not secret. When you offer a judge or a justice a bribe, it's no longer a secret. You pass it through someone, it's paid into an account, your banker would know, your secretary might know, your wife might know, so, or the other side might know. So these are the people who need to out such instances of graft.
Not the lawyers.
Well, the lawyers too. Why not? We're trying to help ourselves. We're trying to save the system from total collapse, which if we're not careful, will happen.
Funding of the judiciary is another big issue. Over the years, the funding has declined, and this 2016 budget appears not to be an exception. What do you think? Why is this problem of funding plaguing the judiciary?
I think because government has over time not given the judiciary the pride of place, which the Constitution gives it, by the way. You'll see from sections 80 et sec to 90. The Constitution gives the judiciary right of, first line charge and all that. In 2010, the budget for the judiciary was 95 million or thereabouts, and it has since then decreased. The decrease has been really, and all this was over during the period when oil prices were very high. And I remember then the former CJN, Justice Aloma Mukhtar, was always bringing this to the fore. We're underfunded, we're underfunded. And now, I think it's 70 billion, down by 3 billion from last year. We simply have to decide that there's a state of emergency in the sector and do whatever it takes. Yes, there are other competing interests. There's infrastructure, there's power, there's housing, there's roads, railways, security. But pray tell, of what good will those be if, at the end of the day, you have a citizenry that's angry because they can't get justice, that resort to self-help, that do not feel secure, that have no confidence in the judicial system. Our judges, right from High Court through the appeal courts, they write in longhand. They take dictation from counsel. It's ridiculous. It's scandalous. What does it take to revamp the whole system? I mean, you go to lesser countries and you find stenographers, you find court recording standard. So it's not just about saying salaries of judges should come from the Consolidated Revenue Fund. It's not about salaries. It's about the whole system. We have to reform the entire system and pump money. It's not just the court system. We're talking about all the sectors involved in the justice delivery system, especially criminal justice. You have the police. I mean, look at what Lagos State is doing, and it's working. The federal should take a cue from that, or other states that can afford it. We have the courts. We have the prisons. Some years ago, I was chairman of the Lagos State Prerogative of Mercy Council, and we would visit the prisons then. I tell you, it was really depressing for me. I wouldn't put my dogs, you've seen my dogs, I have 3. I wouldn't put my dogs in those prisons. So until we pump money and make it priority, maybe declare a state of emergency and do something. So it's all well and good for President Buhari to say, oh, judiciary is my headache. Let him walk the talk. Happily, the vice president is very senior counsel. He did wonders. He blazed the trail in Lagos State under Governor Tinubu, and other states emulated him, and they're still following. And that, the foundation he laid, has been built upon by successive attorneys general in Lagos State. So the vice president is a lawyer. He knows what to do. He knows what the issues are. He can put heads together with the federal attorney general, the state attorneys general, the chief judges, the heads of judiciary, and it's all these things. We know what is wrong. It's just to implement them. Yes, I understand funding is scarce, but you see, where the give it what it takes, or we give up throw up our hands, roll over and die.
The war against graft can be more effective if corrupt judges and lawyers are imprisoned. The federal government also needs to declare a state of emergency in the judicial sector and give it better funding. These are just a few suggestions from my guest, Funke Aboyade, SAN. Do you agree with these suggestions? Please share your thoughts, comments and questions using any of our social media handles. If you missed any part of this program, you can find it in past episodes on our YouTube channel. I'm Shola Shoyeli. Thank you for watching.